Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest on the podcast today, Glenn Yaney with Vertical Equity Group. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so today's podcast, what I wanted to talk about is mainly how you got into the industry of just mobile home parks, the same questions most people ask,
Yep.
and then talk about kind of where operations are today, how you ended up buying deals, raising capital, and where you're taking that going forward. Because for those of you listening, I've done a few transactions with Glenn and his team, and they are one of the best, if not the best operators I know in Florida, especially with mobile home parks and kind of the mid-size, non-institutional, but high-level syndicator game. So glad to have you on.
Yeah, so it just as you were saying that, I kind of like my background is at American Homes for Rent, where
Okay.
a lot of people said it couldn't be done managing an institutional sized portfolio of single family homes,
Yeah.
which is pretty inefficient
Yeah.
if you think about it. And that's somewhat what we've kind of created for our little market, our Tampa market, and just try to create systems in place to quality control to make sure that, as everybody knows, like smaller parks are harder to manage just because there are, quality. You have to make sure they're clean,
Yeah.
And if you have like 100-unit park, you're always there. Somebody's always walking the park. But with a 3-unit, or we only have one 3-unit, but like for like a 20-unit park, you're going to be there once a week or maybe once a month
Yeah.
if you're the owner, So that's kind of what we've implemented is kind of like that model because I have about 9 years at that company.
Yeah.
And I guess to get into the story, I came from Red Lobster, working,
Nice.
just tired of selling Cheddar Bay biscuits. And
Yeah. Those biscuits are good though.
Endless Shrimp
Yeah.
freaking almost put me under as
yeah,
well.
Yeah.
I freaking, if I'm ever want to be grateful, I just think of those days of working at Red Lobster. But so what I did is I got into real estate, similar to you. I got into sales transactions, and
Cool.
and by the time I was actually trying to have buyers and show them, there was institutional companies like American Homes for Rent going in and buying up all the real estate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even show up to the property without it being under contract. So I shifted to rentals, and my company, American Homes for Rent, ended up recruiting me. And I my first month of working with them, I had 50 transactions of rentals, just showing rentals.
And America Homes for Rent's like a big institution that owns a bunch of single family, and you were doing the leasing for them essentially. Yeah.
Yep. I was just showing
So you were running around left and right. Yeah.
I was about 27 years old, and nobody was willing to do what I was willing to do. Just literally drive to houses, open up the doors, and talk to them about the company.
Yeah.
And they, they're buying about 100 a month at that time, houses wise, and just in Tampa. And they over time, Tampa grew to 3,000 units of houses, and I became the regional leasing manager of Florida, which was about 9,000 houses. And I was, running, leasing about 350 a month.
Yeah.
By the time I left, so
Wow.
a little, yeah, it was pretty crazy. COVID turned it into a call center job, so it was like grinding my soul.
Yeah.
And I got out of that, and in the middle of all that, I actually met somebody that owned about 600 units at the time, Desmond, and I pretty much followed him to, like I would on my days off, I would ride around with him just to see what he was doing.
Wow.
And
How did you when you say you met him through that? Was it just he was someone?
he
in the
was renting a
marketplace, or-
house for his whatever significant other, ex-wife, and he showed me his bank accounts, and I was just
you're like, oh,
what do you got? What are you doing?
Des is hilarious. Man. One of the first times I had a conversation with him, because you know how he is on the phone. He's very just to the point and get to it.
Yep.
And he's like, oh man, when we get this deal done, you got to come visit me at my new house in Long Island. And he's like sending me pictures. I'm like, this guy's awesome. So
Yeah,
that's funny.
Desmond is awesome, and he's a great story of rags to riches.
Yeah.
Did it all on his own.
Yeah.
No investors. And I think the one thing to take from that is kind of like it's almost like paying off debt is painful, and then after you pay off the debt, it starts to pay off. And that's, I think, where Desmond is like, he just didn't take investors' money.
Yeah.
And I think that's how he's accumulated what he has today.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Like
impressive.
you ever see the movie The Gambler? Where it's like a position to fuck you.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
That's where he's
Dez
at.
is like truly there.
Yeah. He is 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, you met Dez. He probably opened your eyes into
Yeah.
just what mobile home parks were
Yep.
and a different type of asset class. So how'd that transition into you taking the leap to buy one? Did you leave the job, or what that kind of process look like? Out of curiosity.
Yeah. So I was always, when I worked at American Homes for Rent, I saved money as if I was working at Red Lobster.
Yeah.
So I literally was just like living on
You're stacking cash. Then. Yeah.
$1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Expenses and you know, no TV in my house, no furniture. I was just like living in an apartment just to sleep there. And I ended up I was making about $100,000 to $150,000 a year. So I was able to save a lot of money. I put a lot of money in a 401k, which I today look back, it could have been the thing that slowed me down from getting there faster.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I have a mentor. His name's Randy. He has about 20,000 units of apartments. Wow. And he showed me pretty much what it looks like to raise money. And I would go over to his house on Tuesday night, and we'd have steaks, just me and him. And we would talk about politics and real estate is really what it turned into. And he pretty much connected me to his lawyers and attorneys once we found a 25-unit apartment build a complex in Plant City.
Okay.
And then at the same time, I was buying a 3-unit and a 9-unit from Desmond.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started. That 3 and the 9-unit pretty much covered all of my expenses. Yeah. So my $150,000 a year job turned into all extra.
Yeah.
And I just started plowing that into like almost like limited partner positions, helping my business partner Garrett raise capital. And also I was kind of like a GP, but it wasn't a full, like I didn't get the full benefit of being a GP, but I, helped him build that out. And then once he got to about 200 units, I could see that he was not the operator type, and my background being in property management, that's how I got into working with Garrett full time.
All right. Yeah. I didn't know he was already in the game, and then you joined forces with him. I thought you guys kind of both started at the beginning together. So
yeah, Garrett was buying about 2 to 4 units. He bought like a plaza, which was a 6-unit retail strip. And then I think the 25 unit was the biggest, obviously he bought a 12 unit by himself. And the way he would raise money before was mainly on debt. Like all of his investors were pretty much debt with a little bit of upside. Yeah. And then we moved to the syndication where the investors pretty much, get the full benefit of investing in real estate. So
the 3-unit and 9-unit you bought from Des, was that just seller finance, or how'd you?
30-year, 6%, no balloon.
Oh wow, okay, because he was just because he was probably like these small things.
It's his first 2 parks that he ever bought.
Okay, cool. So he just kind of handed the torch over.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great little parks, and they're hard to sell because they make very good money, and the debt's good on it. So it's kind of like they're right around the corner from a lot of our other parks as well. So
all right. So partnering with Garrett, and shout out Garrett Smith. I got to get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, Armand invited me first, but we never coordinated times and everything. So with Garrett, when you guys were joining forces and you were raising money initially, before going like proper syndication style where they're sharing the ownership and the upside, was it more so like hard money lenders covering the down payment for seller finance deals, or were you just getting a hard money lender to take down the whole transaction? What'd that kind of look like?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because the main reason I asked too, it's like when I want to go to the buy side, I'm curious like what were the better strategies?
It would be others. Something you wouldn't. It's like it's funny, like all these books that you can read and figuring out how to get. It's like we just didn't even understand. We didn't read any of them.
Yeah. So you're just like, how can we get the money? We know the deal's good, so
it was a lot of seller finance, and then the way that Garrett would raise capital is say like he would raise, we'll pay you 12% and on your capital, and 20% upside is really how it was structured. Yeah. And then once we moved to regular syndication, it just turned into like 70-30 type split.
Do you guys pay a preferred return on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Depending on the deal, it's between
Yeah.
8 and 9%. Yeah.
You know, something I always get stuck at when I'm looking at valuing deals if I were to raise money. How do you cover the pref on like heavy CapEx deals on the front end? Do you not start that pref until 6 months later or after year one? Or is it obviously it's gonna be dependent on that deal, but
So being a newer operator, you kind of like, you know what you know, but what I would say is where we've made mistakes in the past is we've paid preferred returns immediately.
Okay.
And in reality, if you're buying a value add deal, you're pretty much funding your preferred return to, you're taking away from the value of the property because you should be, in my opinion, taking that
Investing
capital
it,
and put it into
optimizing
the
it,
deal
yeah.
to where the cash flow pays the 9% instead of just the reserves are paying the 9%.
yeah.
But to be able to raise capital for your first time,
They
the
need to see
investor is going to
return.
want to see the money right away.
Yeah, because there's larger groups given 7,
Yeah.
8, 9 prefs day one. Yeah.
But if you're buying the value add deals that really only make sense to, there's institutional money that are not buying value add, and then there's guys like us. Those are the two options with mobile home operators. I don't really see anything in between.
Yeah.
And it's like super heavy value add stuff that we're doing. So it's like 6 months guaranteed. Like we're not going to be cash flowing because we're plowing it all back into the deal. And so what we do now is we delay it 6 months.
Yeah.
And if we haven't figured it out by then, it's like, that's our operation is figure out how to get it done in 6 months. So.
And then when you're offering 70-30 or whatever split on whatever deal, by the time you refinance the deal, does that kick the investor out, or do you usually keep them in for the life of the investment?
Yeah, so we
does it vary?
Yeah, just with this, it's with our structure is it keeps the investor along for the ride.
Cool.
Due to the tax favorability of mobile home parks, you're not gonna. To kick them out would be a huge tax hit to those investors. Yeah. So you don't want to like.
And I know this is a hot topic to bring up the syndicators.
Yeah.
Usually they don't want to answer that question because they try and kick them out.
Well, if you kick them out, they're paying taxes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, here's your money. We're not paying you anymore. And here's your big tax bill on the back end.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good luck getting the money back. And the theory, obviously, for a syndicator would be to hold on to the money as long as possible, or you give them back their money to only hopefully get the money right back.
Yeah.
So if you're kicking them out and giving them a large tax bill, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, because you want to be reinvesting into bigger deals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Question I have for operations now. When you first take over a park, what do you guys usually do as like protocol to get everyone on like your payment portals and everything like that? Because I know you have a mix of people that still mail in checks to your office in addition to paying online. But what is like the actual ownership transfer look like for you guys to make it successful so you get everyone paying? Because I've dealt with just being on the brokerage side, the amount of operators that when we're actually transitioning the property and there's like 1 to 2 months of pain as they get everyone on board with paying and everything. It seems to be a struggle point for a lot of operators out there. And you guys seem to have this down well-oiled. So what's your kind of total protocol? To a certain extent, I'm sure you got pain in the ass tenants all the time, but what do you guys look like?
Yeah, it's funny. We're dealing with that right now. We bought a portfolio we've never bought anything like. It was a 5-park portfolio, 53 units.
So a bunch of small, a collection of small things.
But I could tell you that after buying that, the delinquency was great the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And then it just like dropped off like immediately. And, and I think what happens is the tenants are generally on their best behavior, and then you really figure out where they're at. And what we try to do is, this is a little bit off topic, but what we try to do is get them on a month-to-month lease. And then with good behavior, we'll sell them back the unit. It's like good behavior as in like paying rent, clean up their units.
Yeah.
We might fix their exteriors of their units for them just to get it to look nice. But overall, that's how we do it. And, most of our residents that we buy the parks from are actually very happy about our online payment, because most I think it was you or somebody sent a picture of money fanned out on a scanner.
Yeah. I posted it. Or sent it to you guys when we were making a joke about a
Yeah.
deal or something.
Yeah, we just bought a deal like that where the owners like says every couple months they walk in and they walk out with $200,000 or something like that.
And then you had to document the actual cash collected.
Yeah, so getting a rent roll was like we already had talked about this earlier, but it was like literally had to like sit down with the person. Okay, so what does this person pay here?
Yeah.
Okay, well let's write that down, because the banks or even the lenders, whatever lender it is, they want to see something, and you're like, well, we don't have anything, but we know what we're going to get, and they're like, no, we got to see what they're getting paid now. So
And how does that look when you're? I know most of this. I'd say no. In the beginning, most of the parks were seller financing, I would guess, or you were just getting hard money or private loans.
We focus on private money.
Yeah.
Seller finance, obviously now.
Yeah.
Even then, it was like I think the thing that's kept us out of trouble is that we've always paid high interest. We've never not paid high interest. And this 4% world is like, how do you do that?
Well, I feel like that was actually looking from the brokerage side and doing a few deals with you guys. Part of the what made you guys successful, I think, is that you were able to buy deals with less restrictions because you weren't going through bank debt. So you were able to buy, before kind of Florida got crazy these last couple of years, you're able to buy a lot of uglier deals that actually ended up being really profitable because, all right, no rent rolls. As long as you can verify the rents are coming in, you guys can make it happen. Versus other buyers that are a lot more formal, they weren't able to get those deals done and they missed out on it.
Yeah, and there's like we've just bought a deal in, I call it Seminole Heights, could be Wellswood, and that park was, just a mess. 8 units or 39 units occupied with mobile homes, but only 8 of the mobile homes occupied.
Yeah.
And not good financials or anything. But at the same time, it was like we can, because of our infrastructure, we're able to put it together. And I know that there were bigger and probably maybe even better operators than us, but like looking at this park. And then once we got it under contract, I started talking to them about it, and they're like, yeah, we saw that one. It's like, we just didn't want anything. We didn't want to do that one. It's like, oh my God, why are we getting it for so cheap? And, it ended up working out, but it's one of those things where when you're talking to these other guys that look like, I mean, they do have their stuff together, and it's like, how do you think that you're probably buying a bad deal. You know?
Yeah. Well, dude, a lot of the larger buyers don't have their stuff together.
Yeah.
They're sloppy, especially like, what I deal with on the brokerage side is, I don't want to name drop, but really, really large professional owner in Florida with a lot of communities. He has very nice signs at his communities that are all very uniform looking. He has a big team of like operations guys, their due diligence team, the one who just deals with kind of the acquisitions and everything, but their team seems to not have good communication. So actually, like dealing with them, like they don't really have a lot of grasp. Like we'll be like towards the end of due diligence and they're like still asking for very basic things. It's like, we've been under contract for 2 months. What do you mean you're still asking me for this? Like, so it's kind of funny. A lot of the larger guys don't really know what's going on. Meanwhile, you guys, and again, why I think you guys are one of the best operators and also best buyers for any brokers out there or people looking to do deals or sell their parks too. A lot of times you already know your operations really well, that the seller's financials, it's not that important because you know where you're going to take it. As long as you know what the infrastructure costs are and any type of due diligence you're going to inspect.
Utilities.
Oh, yeah, once you know utilities, like you guys know, like, all right, maybe your collections are suffering here or these units are vacant, but you know how long it'll take you to turn those around or infill or raise rents, versus a lot of other operators are always asking me as the broker questions like, oh, why are these units vacant? And it's like, because the operator's bad. That's why you're buying it. Like, what do you mean? Why is the unit vacant? It's vacant.
Actually, to defend the operator, I will tell you the reason why people, and I don't know if the slumlord is the right word, but I would say the reason why they are in that position is they're just tired of spending money. Yeah. And they're just tired of putting bad residents in, and that's really what it comes down to. So you just got to know that your operations are different than their operations. Yeah. And how are you going to not repeat what they just did? Yeah. And that's what they did, because they bought that park with good intentions. I'm going to make this place nice. I'm going to put good people in. I'm going to do all these things. And I mean, that's been my experience, is just seeing it. And like, and we go into it, but our 450 unit portfolio of mobile homes, we had like 350 of them park owned homes. And now we're transitioning to
all tenant owned.
Tenant owned. And it's like, I can see how the park owned home model will exhaust an owner. And that is exhausting for me as well. Like, how do you freaking, what do you mean? We just put $15,000 into this, and now they destroyed it.
Destroyed it. Yeah. You're like, oh, we got to rehab it again and again.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So do you find that, I know we talk about this a lot, but for people on camera, do you find that when you're selling off the homes to the tenants, whether it be a rent to own contract or maybe it's a fixer up or you sort of give away for a low price, do you find that they end up staying at the communities longer and just taking better care of it, obviously because they have some type of ownership in the home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say we're kind of learning that through the process, like, so you can buy in strong areas and sell them off wholesale, like almost like the free type kind of trailers where you make like $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
Just sell it for $5,000 to $10,000, and then you just lower your basis.
Yeah.
But what I'm coming to conclusion is actually still I think it's better to just fix them up nicely.
Yeah.
And get a good tenant in there.
Yeah.
Because
that person might just live in a crappy trailer and never actually fix it up, and now the community looks worse, and they might be a shittier tenant, but they own the home, so it's a little more complicated, right?
Yeah. Or you have 10 to 15 construction crews going in your park one time, and then bigger issues happen. Code violations, all the stuff that
makes sense.
And then you're stuck. Not stuck, but just like you're at a standstill. Like everybody needs to stop working, and we got to fix these code violations.
Yeah.
So that
because they don't care. They're just fixing their home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something I didn't think about.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. Is like, and so it's almost like where you get, like before, just an example, we would put like the rollout vinyl stuff.
Yeah.
It's like big sheets. They come in 12 to 14 foot long sheets, width wise. And we would put that in. And everybody can quickly see that it's not wood plank or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the units would sit longer. But if you go out and spend like an extra $2,000 to $3,000 on the material, you're gonna get somebody that obviously knows that this is like vinyl plank, and it looks way better, and it feels better when you walk on it, and you get a better resident. You know, you're gonna get somebody that pays you the max price on that unit, and so it doesn't stay vacant forever. Yeah, when you're trying to sell them, and then the vacancy prices, holding costs, and all that stuff that goes with it. The interest that you're paying to your investors or lenders is not being taken on by your reserves. It's taken on by the resident paying it.
Yeah. Have you had any success rehabbing up the homes and selling them off for like a relatively high cash value, or for the most part it's rent to own, seller finance kind of contracts? Yeah,
it's just I think as reputation continues with us, we're getting more cash buyers. So like when we first started, we couldn't sell a mobile home for $5,000, and the homes would be in pretty good shape, like homes that we'd easily be able to sell today, like 10 to 15,000. We were like, and this is like, we'll call it the boom time for mobile homes. Like everybody's got cash. Everybody's like, I think that actually mobile homes have actually taken a slowdown, because we used to be able to sell them for 25, 30,000 a piece. Now it's becoming 15 to 20,000, 25,000 in a good condition. But so reputation with our residents, obviously referrals from their friends and family, and then they fill up your parks is what happens.
Oh, okay.
That's why we like to buy them close by. We have a park about an hour away in Wildwood. Great park, solid. Like, it's going to be a home run, but we have a hard time placing residents because we don't have like a presence in Wildwood. It's like the Villages, which you would think there's plenty of renters out there, as in like people that buy mobile homes and people with cash, and it's right around the corner from the Villages, and try to sell them for $10,000 to $15,000, and we're just it would be happy just to sell them for that, when it gets to that point. So,
and then these cash buyers, are they getting like a chattel loan or anything, or they just
I don't
come
think
with
so.
cash? Yeah.
I think they just have cash. I
And
think
it'll
it's
mostly be like a retirement style person, older in age, or
I would say with that it's kind of blue collar
okay.
construction. A lot of
Yeah.
construction guys. Not Hispanic. A lot of Hispanic people. They work
Yeah.
together. They put their funds together, and they'll borrow funds from family, and
Yeah.
then they'll
Buy
be
a
able to pay
home.
cash.
Okay.
Like Plant City, all
Yeah.
day cash, 15, 20 grand all day.
Yeah.
But you get to like Brooksville, and it'll be like just trying to get to, $2,000 or $3,000 down.
Yeah. So what's your total lot count now? Or unit count?
I think it's we're at 650 units, but it's 125 apartments and the remaining amount. So about like I don't even know what the math is. 420, 525.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 525. We just bought a 24 unit, pretty much vacant. Every park we bought this year has almost been vacant.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Vacant, but there's still homes on site, or vacant lots?
Yeah. Yeah. Vacants with homes on site.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot easier. And don't know what the entrance cap rate was.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I mean, it's irrelevant anyway.
Yeah,
You're
it's
going to
a-
change the operations.
The very
anyways.
common question for limited partners that we like just meeting, they'll be like, okay, what's the entrance cap rate? I'm like, I don't know, because whatever they're doing, we're not doing going forward.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I could figure out, but I know what the lot rents are going to be when we're done.
Yeah,
So,
like we talked a little bit about that in your podcast, but because I deal with that question a lot from the brokerage side of things, and every time I value a property, like I value everything, and then the cap rate just is reactionary to whatever I valued.
yeah,
Versus people are always like, "Oh, well, what cap rate do you buy?" And I'm kind of like, that ignores 98% of what's actually going on, because like when you're looking at a deal, cost of debt, what's the value add play, and then how quickly do you get your cash on cash after the value add? Because obviously you got to put money into it. You're not gonna get returns day one, so it's interesting. But yeah, a lot
and convincing the say new limited partner
who doesn't
on,
understand the game to that
like
level.
what you're doing, and it's like, well, no, I know it's going to be this. Or like, well, then show me a comp. I'm like, well, we have other properties that do this, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I think people forget the whole point of, unless you're just trying to park your wealth somewhere
Yeah.
and just keep up with inflation, the whole point of real estate is to value add.
Yeah,
So it's like, especially newer buyers out there, when they ask, I need 100% tenant owned, city utilities, direct build at a 10 cap, I'm like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I'll tell you my experience. I've sold zero real estate in my life.
Yeah.
Like as in like
Yeah.
as a real estate agent or whatever broker.
Yeah.
And although I have a broker's license, I've had it for over 10 years. I've never actually done a transaction.
Yeah.
And to that, I've dealt with some buyers, but what I tried to do on my own was sell a 3-unit and a 9-unit.
Yeah.
And I learned then that that's when you should have a broker.
Yeah.
You know, like, why am I trying to, like, because of the frustration that I had. So what would end up happening is that they would be asking very sophisticated questions on a 3-unit and a 9-unit.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, let's just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And then they would say your expense. So then I'd send them the P&L, and then they would say your expense ratio is too low. And I was like, well, I don't know what you want me to do with it, because that's what they are, you know. Because the thing about lot rents is that they're going to be lower expense ratios.
Yeah.
You know, and so it would drive the value up, of course, and that was the big hurdle for selling those. And I think they would have still been great deals at the prices I was selling them at, but it was like I couldn't sell them to any. It was in the middle of 2022 when rates went from like 0 to 5.
Yeah.
And so it was a little uncertain, but at the same time dealing with a lot of new buyers.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like you going into that entrance cap rate idea is going to keep you from buying every single deal.
Yeah. Every single deal. It's like,
because if it was a great entrance cap rate, it's on the market, you're going to be like,
something wrong with it. Yeah.
A lot of our stuff we buy off market, on market.
Yeah.
Like not all of it, but a lot of it, it's been vetted by other real estate operators.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's off, it might be off market, but at the same time, other real estate operators have looked at it and they understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we just have to have either a different business plan or you know, just it's like this whole entrance cap rate thing has always been it could be a deal killer for your, like, you won't be able to buy deals a lot of
Yeah,
times.
that's why I tell everyone looking at parks, because it's kind of like if let's say it's even fully occupied, but there's rents that are $150 below market and a lot of valuable park on homes. It's like the entrance cap rate doesn't matter because you could lower your basis by selling those park on homes, and then you're gonna raise the rents day one $100 probably. So a smart thing that Jimmy Johnson, because we were talking about him being in here, like he's like every time I look at a deal, ignore day one financials, but like what's my 90-day value add?
Yeah.
And it's always, if rents haven't been raised, you're going to do a rent bump.
Yeah.
You're going to either sell off or do something with these homes. So it's like within the first 90 days, you as an operator could dictate where the returns are going to be rather than inexperienced guys. Oh, what's the day one cap rate? Like,
yeah.
Like it's irrelevant because you're not going to operate it like this guy. At least hopefully you're not going to.
Yeah. You don't want that. You're buying it because you're going to do it different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, one thing too with the brokering and selling of deals, it's hard to communicate to a lot of operators that it's just not worth their time to sell it.
It's hard.
Yeah, like even if when you were trying to sell those two little ones, like you probably spent so much time taking calls and answering questions that it's like you'd be way better off buying stuff and doing what you do.
And it probably would have been sold for more, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of showing your hand as an owner.
Yeah.
Like you can at least have the filter of the broker.
Yeah.
So like instead of being pissed off at the seller, you're being pissed off at the broker.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's what I do with all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny is even when sellers are mad at me because I'm like a lot of times I'll position myself, here's what I'm underwriting to realistically. Here's what I could kind of make sense with on paper. That's a little unrealistic, but like there's a chance we can get it.
Yeah.
And then like right now today, I'm going through that conversation with someone after this podcast where it's like, let's say I valued it, just making up numbers, 1.2 million. And I'm like, maybe we could stretch it to 1.3. Realistically, it's probably going to land at 1.1. We're getting offers around 1.1. And he's like, I thought you told me 1.3. And I'm like, I told you there's a chance we could try and push it there with added competition, but it's not like I could force 1.3 to just happen.
Yeah.
It's like
but you put it at 1.1, it would have been getting offers at 900.
Yeah, that's the problem. So it's like
Yeah.
No, it's tough brokering, and then it's also like just having the scale of buyers and database and everything. Like, because a lot of people don't see on the brokerage side, aside from just having the database compiled. Like even when we were trying to market your portfolio, like we were calling. I mean, we made like 700 calls to everyone around, like between the three of us, me, Ben, and Rob, to every single person we knew that owned parks around all of yours. And it was like, so like for people who own parks to try and sell their own parks. Yeah. Unless you want to buy yourself another job, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like even if I was on the, if I was a operator, I 100% would either sell to a broker or at least hire an employee to handle it. And be my maybe my go-to internal agent. But
so what keeps you from investing in parks that you're selling, or like not selling, but maybe like you have like an operator you really like? What keeps you from taking your commissions and rolling into a deal?
The increase of capital. I mean the return of capital and the speed of returns. So let's say if I LP'd whatever my fee was into one of your deals, probably I'm just gonna make it up if we're targeting whatever returns, 20 to 25% IRR, which is like probably great returns for the marketplace, just seeing what other people offer. All right, I'll double my capital in 3 to 5 years.
You could be a GP though.
No, I could.
Yeah.
But again, like you don't really take any returns yourself with the exception of some fees on the front
ties
end.
it up.
It ties it up. Meanwhile, with brokerage, like let's just use an example. Last year, top line around 700,000 to 800,000 for 2024.
Say that again.
Top line fees I made was 750, 800. Okay. Let's just say 800,000. Make that simple.
Yes.
Like true net off that after expenses, I'm in like the 400,000 range. With that, I'm immediately able to hire a bunch of employees, and right now I'm currently marketing 900,000 worth of fees in listings. Yeah. It's been 2 months. Yeah. And I might capture that. Let's say 2/3 of that actually closes. I'm going to capture off my only, honestly, the cost of the employees with the tools and everything, maybe a $50,000 investment. Now it's a lot of active work, but that $50,000 potentially turns into another $300,000, $400,000 in 6 months versus if I kept that in a deal, even on the GP side. Sure, there's a lot of growth and I have equity in a deal, and long term over a 10-year time horizon, it's probably a better investment. But I'm like, could I stack a lot of cash and optimize that and get my, regular income to maybe a crazy amount in the next 2 to 3 years? And then now I go to buy side in a much better position. That's my thoughts.
So just an idea, and I'm not, who knows, you probably get the losses in somewhere else as a business owner, but you could, being a real estate professional, you'd be able to say, put $100,000 into a deal.
Yeah, and offset.
And then you get income. The cost seg.
Yeah.
You get $100,000, 80 to $100,000 off of your income immediately.
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to not have to pay taxes on that. Then you make like a 30% return because you're not even paying taxes on. Yeah. You get $30,000 back.
Yes, like that's something I'd want to do soon. Because last year was a different level of income than I've had made previous years. Mainly because the whole like marketing, internet stuff actually panned out as planned.
Yes.
But, I mean, it could have not worked. And I just, but the problem is I spend my money.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm getting to the point now that even spending a lot of money, I'm still making a lot and having reserves. But then I got other stuff too. Like I'm starting the MMA gym.
Yeah.
But I do plan to in the near future. But my thought is like get more active income first before I even think about any of that. Yeah. Because when I look at my returns I would get in anything, it's like the more money I put into my current biz, I get like 10x output.
It's like everything else is a distraction. Yeah. The MMA, distraction.
Everything. Yeah. So that's how I feel right now. Like I'm like, because the quicker I have like a multi-stage process. Yeah. I'll kind of break it down.
Yeah. Let's hear
so
it.
that way people will see 6 months to a year from now.
I'd love to hear
what happens. Unlike other brokers, everything's cold call based. So it's very, can I make a shit ton of dials until you just find deals? Mm-hmm. The way I do it is like my cold calling is only to confirm data and accuracy of data. Now, along the way, you just naturally find potential sellers cold calling. But really, I'm trying to build a database that I could send marketing blasts to, and then that generates the leads. And now the marketing blast is infinitely scalable because one email blast can go out to 1 million, one text blast can go out to 1 million, one vlog could build the relationship with 1 million. Like to this day, I still have people that reach out to me and send me their financials because they watched my videos a year and a half ago. Yeah. So what I realize is the historical way to build relationships with potential sellers is to always call them, build a relationship on a one-to-one basis, aka I have to build my relationship with you as a person, but I'm building a relationship with hundreds of people by putting out content and different marketing vlogs and stuff like that. So right now, the constraint is, all right, if I do get financials and someone tells me they want to sell, I have to underwrite it, pitch on it, and then actually sell the deal. That's my constraint. I don't have enough time to do all that. Mm-hmm. So I'm only doing the pitching. I hired 6 guys now to do the execution of listings. So like they do the surrounding owner calls, they reply to all the inquiries and everything. And then as I could train them up to be doing like the actual pitches and negotiations, then I could plug in actual employees to handle that. And we could do like marketing blasts specifically in their individual regions. So right now I'm kind of like loosely scattered among the US, but if I could have a specialized team in each region, theoretically it's infinitely scalable. If I could fully focus on the marketing, they could focus on the execution for their region. And then I would think we would like 10, 100x rapidly because it's like all the marketing efforts I do takes away from time of execution. But if I can get them executing on the leads that come in, they build out their own real estate teams and I control the marketing. In theory, it should be infinitely scalable. Yeah.
I think the area where you'd be, and this, you can cut this out if you want.
Yeah. No,
I think that this is the area I actually, as you're talking, you have something that most people don't, which is an audience. And I think if you were to create maybe like a fund or something like that, I think if somebody's given, like, who would be better than the broker that knows deals?
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about that. Like if I were to try and raise money now, so my database is it's up to like 20-something thousand, 25,000.
How many of those actually own mobile home parks?
A lot.
A lot, but how many don't own mobile home parks?
Yeah, how many don't that want to?
Which is, that don't want to, and really, in a position like yourself where
Yeah.
you are making, it's stupid for you to buy a mobile home park.
Yeah.
Like that would be a waste of your
It would
time.
be. It'd be less money than I would make not. Yeah.
You have to be like 110% into buying mobile home parks. And that would be like you'd be like, why did I do this? And I think that's what I've seen from other guys like that are high, big brokers.
Yeah.
They're like, why did we do this? Why did we buy mobile home parks? They just need to transact them, but obviously roll your commissions in, and the way to really maximize them is build out the fund aspect of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about going to buy side though, because like if I transition, so there's a lot of people which is kind of shocking to me because I still just feel like I'm like winging it a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm talking about sometimes. But a lot of times, and you probably feel the same way with operations. You're like, we'll figure it out. Like I don't know the answer for sure, but I have an idea.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel a lot of the times with like decisions making I'm doing now, especially with training. I have no idea how to train people.
Yeah.
Like I have 6 guys. I'm like, oh. But if I did try and transition to buy side and I tried to raise money, kind of Grant Cardone style, very wide.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Marketing and media. Like I know how to funnel it properly from attention to the free offer to booking calls, because that's essentially what I do.
Yeah.
But I don't know how rapidly that would work. In like, how would I be able to gauge how quickly I can get money out of that? Because this sounds stupid, but I do live off a lot of money, which I'm like, I could go to buy side if I was willing to sacrifice that for a few years, but I think I could just get the income to such a drastic level that I really don't have to worry about that.
It would be more of like a recurring type.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are investing as like a limited partner are not the same guys that are buying mobile home parks.
Yeah.
It's every guy that probably gives us money, not one of them said I want to buy a mobile home park outside of working with you.
Yeah.
Like that's not the same person.
Yeah.
But I know that I've had a few people come up to me and say like, do you know Armand or whatever?
Really?
And I'm like, he's like, yeah. I was like, I talk to him regularly, and then it's like guys that are not buying mobile home parks.
Yeah.
They just trying to follow mobile home world.
Yeah.
And they want to invest.
Just see me. Yeah.
They want to invest. And I think that's the area that, I mean, it doesn't even have to start out with a lot. You're thinking like millions. Like I would say it could be even like, you could try it out to a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
And then
But
you
like,
would fund it right away.
And
you would fund 500,000 immediately.
But dude, I think that like, but buying a small park to me doesn't make sense, because I'm like, and again, it's
yeah, but you find the operator who you like, and you place your capital with that, and you become the GP.
Piece of the GP, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you would do.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But then it's hard to like participate. So you know what's going to open up a lot? If I can get the 6 guys I hired, each of them are assigned a region. Once, because I'm building out a whole, I did like the little course thing for a while that I still have out there on how to find deals. But basically I've repurposed that group into an entire 50 video training course for my agents, and I'm adding videos as they ask questions and everything to make it like a really good training course. Once these 6 guys are relatively self-sufficient, in theory, we could hire infinite amount of employees now because we have the training protocol.
Yeah.
So I'm like, once I get them fully up and running, and then they could start building out their own teams in their region, that I'll be removed from the business, and then I could focus on, hey, let me do marketing campaigns for the business, marketing campaigns to raise money, and evaluate that then. But I don't know, like even buying a park that's $2 million, if I doubled the value of a $2 million park, and let's say I was doing a 70-30 split, but let's just do very basic numbers. $2 million park turns into $4 million. And I get 30% of that upside. That's, $600,000. I'm like, there's a chance.
Plus tax depreciation.
Yeah, I guess the depreciation.
Yeah, the depreciation.
But, I mean, there's a chance that I think the brokerage biz, my only constraint is I think there might not be that many mobile home parks over a long time frame.
Yeah.
But theoretically, the marketing blasts do work for other asset classes. We just have to get the data. So if we have the shift, we can. But like, I think there's a world where I go from last year, 2024 was 800,000 top line fees to 2.5 million in 2025 to literally 10 million plus in 2026, because it's an exponential growth, purely because I'm not focused on the call on a 1-to-1 ratio. It's like, if we just get more data in the database, the marketing will generate exponentially more leads.
How much value of mobile homes is that? 900,000. Like how many, like what's a transaction
Let's
volume?
just say average was probably, that's 3% of the if I had to average out fees for off market deals, I might do a 2% fee. Listings as high as 5-6%, depending on deal size. Let's just say if that was a 3% average, that's, I guess it'd be, 30, 40 mil.
Yeah. And then there's guys that do like, which is insane, 1.5 billion.
That's what I'm saying. So, and now I'm taking a bunch of small listings right now.
Yeah.
Purely for the sake of training.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, all right, I could have my newer guys run with a $600,000 listing. He doesn't have to be that polished. He can kind of fuck things up and still get it across the finish line. But like, let's say I was still focusing on, like, I did larger deals my first 3 years in the business than I do now.
Yeah.
But it's purely for the training aspect. Because like a guy like you guys, if we're listing your portfolio at 12 million, 11 million, whatever it is, like, you don't want to hear some dickhead agent call you and be like, oh, what do you mean RTOs? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm taking the small listings now, but I think it'll just grow too once they're just up and running, and I could just go back to focusing on big stuff.
Well, the crazy part is, we've talked about this before, is there's guys selling 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
In whatever, I don't care. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's like those guys, to me, it's like they stood us up. Like, they don't care. We're about to give them a $12 million listing.
Yeah.
And they stood us up. Like, oh, I can't show up. I'm blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's like,
So like, anyways, so that to me is like, for one, there's an unserved market, which is what you're talking about doing. And then also they, over time that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
If I would say that, the way that, I would just say that, it might be the niche that you're in. I mean, because there is actually, when you say there's unlimited amount of small parks.
That is true. Yeah.
There's unlimited amount of small parks.
And they always there's always bad operators that got to transact.
It's just like single family homes. You're like, maybe they'll run out of, maybe all these institutional buyers will buy up all this. There is unlimited amount of single family homes. And I really believe that there's unlimited amount of small parks as well.
Yeah.
It's, you might make a less of it. It's not as glamorous. It's not going to be that $30 million listing that you see.
Yeah.
But, there's still transactions. So
yeah. And I'm not worried about, like, man, people talk about like, oh, I wouldn't take a listing under $1 million, but I'm like, I'll take a 30K fee.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is also what I think though. So why my mindset's maybe a little different is the way I find most buyers outside of surrounding owner calls that I have the junior agents do. It's emails, text blasts, and marketing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take me time or as much time to market to as many people as someone who relies on calls. So maybe that's why I'm like, the 30K fee is still worth it, because it's like 1/10 of the time another agent might take.
Also, on my podcast, I usually talk to them offline before and after. And I would say that almost all of them deal with you.
Yeah.
Like every single one, they're like, oh yeah, I did a deal with Armand last
Okay.
or other street or whatever the case be.
Yeah.
And they're not small operators.
Yeah.
So it's like we're all growing.
Yeah.
So it's like the guys always remember who took care of them on the way up.
Yeah.
So,
but dude, you know what's crazy? A lot of people don't actually show any like I've sold so many deals to larger operators that never came back around to sell it through me.
Yeah.
You're probably like the third guy to ever actually be
Yeah.
like, hey, we appreciate you guys selling us a few. Here's the same ones you sold us.
I feel like we're like college buddies. We're like
homies. Like I'm like the day one homies from the industry. Yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, so are you guys, question for you now. You're putting out a lot more content. You got the podcast, but podcast seems like you're just doing general business, but
general business, we talk. I obviously can talk about mobile home parks all day.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the podcast. I started out as wanting to figure out people's net worths, and turned into where nobody wants to talk about their net worth.
I know, dude. So like no one ever wants to talk. I literally like on my YouTube channel, I'm like, here's how, like I just told you how much money I made last year. Like, IRS, don't come after me. Don't look at my taxes.
Yeah. But so then it turned into just trying to find people that are not investing in their 401ks and other things.
Yeah. Nice.
I could tell you that I've personally I had like $300,000 in my 401k when I left my W-2, and
should have cashed that out and bought
I
products.
have been.
Oh yeah, nice.
I have been, and I've like doubled my income.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you leave it in a 401k to not double your income?
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna literally wait for that to hopefully double if we're going into like the way I looked at it is like, okay, so interest rates have constantly gone down since the 80s. So especially like guys like us, we've only seen the market go up
Yeah.
because the interest rates are going down. But as interest rates are going up, what does that do to all values? It's
Yeah.
like, well, it's going to probably drive them down.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like what big companies, S&P 500, all that stuff. It's like, well, we're basing it on like, these are always going to be going up. That's the speculation, is that the market always goes up.
Yeah.
And everybody will tell you that that's what it is. And if everybody's telling you that, you got to wonder, is that the truth? And
Yeah.
I think to myself, I'd rather buy it into cash flow, income producing assets to be able to allocate my next dollars after that, compared to just letting it roll into some
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Instead of
S&P 500
always over leverage.
index.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. The with the media you're pushing out, are you looking at trying to do more money raising wide? Because you guys are putting out good looking stuff on
Yeah.
your, and you
Always.
clearly paid someone to put something together that looks
Our main
nice.
thing is fund. We like to do fund because we buy smaller parks. It seems that, you know, if it's so say what we would do is like we did this past year, we'll buy like 2 or 3 parks and put them together and make it a
Yeah.
syndication, and that's with like 60 units, right?
Yeah.
In a 60 unit portfolio, you get about $40,000 to $50,000 monthly revenue,
Yeah.
and a roof on like a cottage might cost you $5,000 to $10,000, you
Yeah.
know, and your like cash flow is wiped out just
Yeah.
from that one expense. But I can tell you, if you have a 60 unit portfolio, there's always like some type of expense that comes up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have enough revenue to cover it, you're constantly dipping into the reserves.
Yeah.
And once you finally sift through all the stuff that happens to these seriously neglected properties, then you start really making cash flow on those. And
Yeah.
it was still a good purchase. It's just that the reserve amount has to be for those. You have a reserve amount for 3 properties. So if you end up having like if we were, you know, we raised like $6 million last year. So if we did like a $3 to $5 million fund, we're just, okay, we're going to buy, you know, $3 to $5 million worth of equity. And ideally we buy 200 to 300 units. So
Yeah.
now we have a revenue
Yeah.
of 200 to 300 units. So it's like mimicking like you just bought a 200 unit park.
Yeah.
And through that, you have all these different types of things that come up: septic tanks, wells, and you know, rehabs. And within about, you know, that 6-month period that we're talking about, it's like the portfolio should be working, you know, and paying you some cash flow, and you still have the reserves, and you're able to fix up the things that need to be fixed up, but all the debt service and preferred returns are all being serviced by the revenue that you have on hand. So
Yeah.
there's a lot more upside, I believe, for the smaller parks, because you like to syndicate a small park, it becomes more riskier. So if
Yeah.
you can spread out, it's like portfolio theory,
Yeah.
spread out the risk, you can you're able to have a better operating portfolio of parks,
Yeah.
because we have, you know, 650. If all 650 units were in one pool of funds, it would be like, oh, this messed up thing happened.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like, oh, this is, you know, fucked up, whatever. It's usually, that's the only thing you could say.
Yeah.
when
Like, oh,
yeah. You know, so it's like,
septic tank caved in. Fuck.
it's like, yeah, some idiot decided to drive on top of the drain field and
Yeah.
caved it in. And you're like, all right, well, I guess we
fix it.
gotta fix it. And then it's like, it's not like, oh, well, we need to wait till the cash flow comes in.
Yeah.
rents and
It's
stuff
more
like that.
blended with the.
Yeah,
the
so now
fund.
you're like, you have this roller of income.
Yeah. So
And-
the what you guys are putting as more so as you transition to more of the fund style raising, it's kind of like branding it together. Like instead of saying, "Hey, we have this deal," it's like, "No, we invest in these style of mobile
Yeah.
home parks, so we can
Yep.
invest in roll them to invest in a fund instead."
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is something I've kind of learned is as if you're getting started, it's like people just, you know, they trust in you, and is
Yeah.
what it really turns into. And that's what the fund model is. When you're new, they probably don't trust you that much. So
Yeah.
syndication is like, okay, this is the deal I've underwritten. This is
Yeah.
what we're going to do to it. All this stuff. It's like most of our investors have seen what we've been doing, and then they end up saying, okay, well, you know, we trust you, and now we can
Yeah.
let you go out and pretty much have like, go buy some good deals for us.
So that's another thing with the tying back to the buy side.
Yeah.
If I would go to the buy side conversation, so it's my other grand theory.
Yeah.
So the 6 guys that I brought on,
Uh-huh.
this is how I think I could go to the buy side and scale quicker rather than doing it now, for example, and raising money at a small level.
Yeah.
Like let's say I raised 500,000 to buy a 2 mil park. If I can get all of my young guys, and I have this tracked based on stats, and the 2 young guys I have right now, the first 2 I hired, they already made net themselves around 50,000 their first 6 months in the industry.
It's really good.
The first
That's
4
really
months,
good.
yeah, and the first 4 months is like a crapshoot. That's just you
Yeah.
calling and just
Yeah.
eating shit. So like really, like they just started their year already 50,000 up, and now they know what they're doing. So I'm projecting they're probably going to make around 150,000 each for their first actual year. The 6 months don't count in the industry. Now I have this all tracked based on stats because everything's based on marketing blasts and KPIs rather than just who's better on the phones. I think if I get all 6 guys up to, let's say, anywhere from 200 to 400,000, let's average it out, 300,000 in net income each. Then everyone has 100,000 they could put aside. Hopefully I'm making a lot more by then too.
Yeah.
And now as a group, we can go buy deals with like $1 million in capital right off the bat. And then now if we want to raise money, it's like, oh, we're coming with $1 million ourselves.
Yes.
It's much easier to ask for 5 mil capital. And then we just start off buying 10 mil deals instead of working our way up the small syndication world. That's that's also my theory too, and how I should get to the buy side.
Yeah. So a few things I was thinking of when you're saying that. There's, as the agent, I actually think the most valuable thing you can have is a reserve fund.
Yeah.
Because there will be like, I think, talk to your other guys, there's a lull in the market. When rates go up, people put the pencils down, they're waiting to see what happens. And then it starts to like level off. Then everybody starts realizing that this is the new norm or whatever. So that 6 months without income is painful.
Yeah.
You start to question yourself, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But if you have that reserve, it's like you have more staying power. And the guys that stay in it long enough, like I always think about what we're doing, and I can compare myself to guys that are killing it, but I have to look at the time that I've been doing it. So like, say if I left my W-2 in 2022, I can see if I were to, what am I going to look like in 2032, which is hard to believe. Like 2032 is a long time from now.
Yeah. Super rich. That's what you're going to look like.
Well, we only hope. And that's the big thing, is just looking through and like it's just the Alex Hormozy. It's like these people that have been doing this have been doing it for long periods of time. Like it's not like it happened. It's not like they're an overnight success. Very rarely. And usually the guys who become overnight successes lose it just as fast as they got it, you know, but it's like the grind is what, how you respect the money that comes in is what I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so then the second thing I was thinking about is the one thing I would, you already know this, like if you started buying deals, brokers would be wondering, why aren't you buying this?
Yeah.
And then it turns into, Armand only has
it's a
shit
conflict
deals.
of interest. Yeah. I also, like people ask, like, why don't you have any like really like well-priced deals for me? And I'm like, well, if my whole spiel is I maximize your value,
Yeah.
someone who's willing to take a below market offer probably isn't coming to me.
Yeah.
And that's why like wholesalers usually go to buy side quicker than brokers, because wholesalers, they're already posing the question of trying to get it below market value. So that transition into buying quicker than, a broker. It's like, let me underwrite and try and get you a stupid number.
Yeah. And I also think one thing that you guys are good at is I think you guys do work with wholesalers.
Yeah,
So
I'll collaborate with some if the deal's like, all right, I can make sense of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's been the one thing. I think we've had a few deals through you guys.
Yeah.
Similar stuff. I mean, I don't know if we executed on them, but it was still like with.
Yeah, it was in play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something most real estate agents and brokers are like anti-wholesalers, but it's like those guys are pounding the phones.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's all the same shit. You're middlemaning a deal, taking a fee. Just the only reason I'm not a fan of wholesale approach, it's like non-transparency. Like every time I've ever done anything with a wholesaler,
Yeah.
it's a shit show. Like, we can't tell the buyer what's going on. We can't tell us. Like, I mean, they want to hide the fee from the buyer, and I'm like, the buyer's on your side, bro. Tell them what you're taking.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, we don't want to tell them what our contract price is. And then for the seller doesn't know what we're doing, so we got to be like, oh yeah, this guy doing a site visit, he's our operations guy. It's like, it's a lot of bullshit. There's already enough bullshit trying to get the deal done. Aside from having to lie now, it's like,
I would actually say though, times we worked with a wholesaler, it almost seemed that it was not quite like a wholesale deal.
Yeah.
It's not like they had it under contract.
Yeah, it was more so like, hey,
they just say, hey, I got a deal. We'll, figure out some way to pay him.
Yeah, that's the better way to do it. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. What's your plans going forward? Obviously transitioning into like raising now a fund instead of per deal. But is there like a different style of deals? Like obviously the smaller 9 units you're probably not doing anymore. No. But like what are you looking at now? Your perfect deal that you want to buy within reality, of course.
There's always I don't know if I've ever seen a 100-unit deal on the market. Yeah. Like I'm like, people were like, why don't you buy bigger deals? I'm like, I literally don't see 100-unit deals on the market. And if they are, they're just like,
it's so stupid price.
You're like, oh yeah, it's like over 100,000 a pad. And I don't know how that works. So, but yeah, I mean, we just focus on, 15 to, 10 units are good, but at the same time, we're looking for 15 to, 80. That would be the ideal. Yeah. And we'll pick them off one at a time. And we kind of have the operations to buy stuff that nobody else, even if you're getting into it, like those buyers aren't going to buy what we're buying. Yeah. And then if you're already into it, you're not going to buy what we're buying because it's such a brain damage thing to do. Yeah. And we have the infrastructure in place in, Central Florida. Yeah. Where, they kind of, it just fits our model. So it's kind of, when we make an offer on a deal, there's only like one other offer, so it's not like they can never tell us like, oh, we have multiple offers. I'm like, no, you don't. Yeah. No, you don't. I don't think so. And if you do, it's not, we understand we might pay, not considerably higher, but it was like, we understand like what we're doing, and we kind of groom our limited partners to understand like going back to the entrance cap rate. It's not it's not what we're valuing the deal as. We know what this thing's going to make after we get it done, So.
Yeah. Are you staying away from Parkland Homes now on the buy side, or are you just trying to sell them off quicker?
Immediately.
Yeah. Immediately.
Trying to figure it out.
Are you looking outside of Florida by any chance?
No, I think
Florida's tough, dude. You guys are savages in Florida, but I mean, it's tough to find at least decent price deals day one. I know you're like 5-year time horizon looks way better in Florida because growing markets. But it's tough here, man. Like maybe.
Yeah, I think the assumptions might be under. I think we have higher assumptions is what it comes down to. Yeah, yeah. We figure out like the lot rents might be higher than what is the common lot rent. Yeah. And then the other thing is that my theory is that we get to 1,000 units, and then with 1,000 units, the management company would be able to support somebody very qualified to go out to other markets and help us build that out. But I got young kids, and I'm not trying to get on a plane to look at a mobile home park.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially if you were setting up new management, a totally new market, you probably have 6 months of going out there yourself to try and figure it out.
I mean, I'll probably still go out there, but at the same time, the type of dumpster fires that we deal with here, I couldn't imagine doing that
out of state. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. And that's the kind of stuff that we like to buy. It's like it's almost like we look at the deal and we're like, how is nobody else buying it? It's because they don't want to do what we're doing. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, it does suck, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's why you get your investors way above average returns.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off. Yeah, no, that's interesting stuff. I'm trying to think. I had a few more questions for you before we wrap up. You guys have the free guide that you put out, the 10-step thing. What are you doing with that? Or is that just to kind of capture some leads?
Yeah, we like to. It's kind of the common, understanding of mobile home parks. Yeah, we have that, and then obviously we'd like to get your email so we can get you on our list to see what we're doing. Also, that's the point of the podcast. Is when I listen to your podcast, I can feel like I know Armand pretty well by watching it. And that's kind of the thing that I would say is my podcast, the Millionaire Journey podcast, is where I interview people about their journey to their successful career. And I think listening to that, because I got this from listening to like Ryan Pineda, you know, Alex Hormozzi's. Like if I sat in a room with those guys, I could probably tell you their story. Like everything. I would like just to conversate with them like you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the idea behind it. It's just to kind of get people used to listening to me, and kind of like I might have a little bit different approach to a lot of things, but at the same time, I enjoy doing it as well. Yeah. So,
you know, I think you guys should try doing, maybe generate more capital, people. When you guys do the free guide, whoever downloads that, like 10 reasons why I buy mobile home parks, people who download that, you should send them invites to like a weekly webinar. Where on the webinar you just talk about one of your deals, what the cost of was, what the investors put into it, what you rehabbed, and then what their returns were by the end of 3 years or 5 years, whatever. Especially now that you're having a big refinance, so you'll have full cycle evidence you could talk about. And then from that webinar, the people that actually stay engaged more than 50%, those are the ones you call and try and pitch them to invest.
Yeah, and it's like it's a work in progress. I was thinking about something, but I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's because
I think I think people underutilize webinars. So like once I could free up my time on the brokerage side, so I do evaluation pitches, right? And that is like it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So all right, my marketing markets everyone. People tell me they're interested in selling, and then I got to do a 1-to-1 pitch. But what if all my marketing rooted to a free webinar where on that pitch or that webinar, I explain how I sell their park and what I do to get it sold. And now I'm essentially doing that pitch to infinite amounts of people. So like, what if I start locking up 10 listings at the same time?
Yeah.
Instead of one at a time. And I was thinking like if I went to the buy side, I would immediately go to extremely good, database, general marketing about mobile home parks and operations, a free guide that's more in depth than the 10-step thing that you guys put out. Like I'd straight up give them the exact game plan on how to invest, funnel that to a webinar. Then anyone that sticks around more than half the webinar, they're about as hot of a lead as it gets. Yeah. And then you could.
It's just like the Frank Wolf. Yeah. His whole, he's like the biggest operator in the country, isn't he? Yeah. But it's because he has a school that gives him all his leads.
Yeah. That's when I did that course thing, it was like, because I did it with Derek Vickers for a little bit. Yeah. And, or at least he switched his to just like one-on-one kind of mentorship kind of things that people pay for. Like
he won't let me, he won't mentor me.
Well, yeah, you're his competition. Bro.
I was like, bro, let me pay for your mentorship.
Well, who's going to mentor who? You know what I'm saying?
I was ready I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. But when we were doing it, the problem that we found was that it's not even worth like the time. Like we accidentally sold 2 people $2,000 coaching. Yeah. So we did the free guide to free webinar, and we had like you could join for $150 a month, or it's like $700 or $800, and then there's like a $2,000 like, oh yeah, we'll help coach
direct access.
But that was just like a ghost product to get them to buy the mid-level. Yeah. And then 2 people just immediately bought the 2,000, and it was like, oh, we got to come up with a training thing. Now, it was funny. One of the guys who bought it was one of Ryan Pineda's closers. Nice. For his course. And he said that our content was way better than Ryan Pineda. Just saying, baby. And then, but he successfully got a like wholesale to mobile home park. Yeah. And he made like 30,000. So I'm like, all right, his 2,000 was well spent.
Yeah. But, so what I would say about brokers, and the good thing is that they know more about deals than the operators. And I think I learned, like, I go to these listing appointments with you guys and stuff, and you guys are like explaining to me, and I'm like, oh, I never. Yeah,
because we just know how all the buyers, like the best buyers, because like I don't underwrite how I want to underwrite. I underwrite how the better buyers tell me. Like even you guys are the ones that are like, well, actually, Derek was the first one to let me know about like, not necessarily giving homes away, but selling them off quickly as fixer uppers, and and just RTOing them at like stupid low prices really quickly just to get the lot rents high.
Yep.
He was the first one to tell me about that like 2 or 3 years ago. And because I was always like, oh, there's a vacant home. It's going to cost you $20,000 and $15,000 in rehab and setting costs and all this and everything. And he was like, nah, man, we'll just give it away and get the lot rents in. I'm like, that totally changes the numbers. So yeah, it's funny. That's all I do. I just react to whatever different like large groups. Like you guys, how you guys like underwrite? Like I'll be like, how do you look at this deal? And I'll like go back. I'm like, all right, I'm pitching on this other deal. Is there a way I can underwrite it different based on what you said?
Yeah, we got it from I think it was one of his, I don't know if his main GP but he told us the same thing from Derek Vickers. But it's kind of like, that's when we changed our whole model. Yeah. And it was really after failing 2 refinances. Yeah. And then trying to sell it to you guys. And I was like, all right, we can scrap it. Let's go freaking do it.
You know, a weird thing though. So like I've done a lot of deals where total park on home income got financed like it's a multifamily deal. And not just
Florida?
Small. No, outside in like
that's why
shitty markets.
It's Florida.
Florida, they're just
no insurance for mobile homes.
Oh yeah, the insurance. You know what's funny? I can't even get insurance on the fucking MMA gym. It's in South Tampa. No one will insure it. Isn't that crazy? I'm dealing with insurance problems too, just from the hurricane. But yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, because no one wants to insure the fucking park.
It happened after I think Irma or Ian.
You mean after 10 hurricanes?
Yeah, well, it was Ian or Irma, and they were like, okay, anything older than 1993, we can't insure anymore. And then we're like, okay.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, so that was a big hurdle. And then I learned that obviously we can't operate with mobile homes here.
Yeah.
But I've actually found other options, but it's at the point where the overall expense, if you actually calculate what you're spending on maintenance, like all the stuff that happens, insurance, higher interest that you would have to pay with the bank, way better to just get rid of the mobile homes.
Yeah. You know, but so that's very Florida specific though, because in lower single family home value markets, it like people don't buy park on homes, which is a really odd one too. Cause like I'll underwrite, like if something has and again, I'm not on operations. This is just unbiasedly what I see the marketplace paying. If someone has like if the median home values in a given marketplace are like below 225,000, 200,000, I almost sometimes recommend that the owners, for the sake of a sale, keep the park on homes and just raise the rents. Which is also a crazy thing because it's like that's very conflicting with what people think. But I'm like, people are paying higher if you have at least because you could argue at least 4 home values, especially if they're newer homes.
Yes,
it's like, well, the guy's not going to just give away, 10 1998 model homes that are probably worth $20,000 a piece. But the problem is you can't sell it in that marketplace because people don't just come up with $20,000 cash to buy it. So it's like
the institutions also. I was at Seco and they were talking about keeping park-owned homes. To make the deals work, and then they sell them out 5 years later. They might bring a brand new home in, and then they bring the brand new home in, they rent it out for 5 years, and then they sell it after that to recapture because they're losing. They're losing when they bring the brand new home in, and they can't sell it for what they paid for to get it there.
They got to
so they're trying to recapture it, and then they sell it after 5 years.
Yeah,
but for us, we're not buying brand new homes. So
yeah, that's smart. Any closing topics that you'd like to talk about? I could talk to you forever, by the way. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Everything is great podcast, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and then if anyone wants to get a hold of you for the sake of, and everyone, I mean this dearly, and I don't say this on every podcast for the people that listen. If you should invest and be an LP with anyone, Garrett and Glenn are the 2 best operators I know. There's a few other guys that bring on the show too that are great. But I really, like, from the beginning, I always thought they were the best operators, and seeing their parks and how they've turned it around. Like, I've sold them a park called Lighthouse Oaks, which was arguably the biggest piece of shit I've seen in my life. And I drove through the park a few weeks ago this is actually months ago when we were talking about listing it with a package. And I mean, this looks like a new community, new roads, homes are all fixed up. It's crazy how they turned it around. Like, these guys are legitimately one of the best operators I know in Florida. So if you want to invest with anyone, highly recommend these guys. But how could they get in touch with you for that?
Yeah, so I guess my podcast is the best way to listen. And I'm on LinkedIn regularly. If you find me on LinkedIn, Glenn Yaney, and Facebook as well. and just reach out to me there.
Cool. And if you guys need a free evaluation for your mobile home parks, mhpvalley.com, baby. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, bro. Appreciate it. It was a good time.